there, everybody. I'm Dan. Thanks for tuning into Music-Pals. We're going to start the podcast in just a minute here, but before we do, I just wanted to give a quick overview on what to expect. You may have gathered that this podcast is about musicals. We're going to talk about musicals. We're going to dive into performance choices, numbers, casting, all of it, the pageantry, the writing. We're going to dive into all of that. But we're also going to dive into some deeper issues, racism, sexism, the media, things like that, only when appropriate. But above all that, more than anything, we're also just going to be ridiculous, and we're going to laugh a lot, and we hope you laugh, well, at least a little. We're both absurd human beings, and we're going to bring along some of our funniest friends throughout the podcast, and we really hope you enjoy it, because we enjoy our friends and we enjoy ourselves, so hopefully you will too. There will definitely be spoilers. We're going to talk about the musical. It may be useful for you to watch the musical beforehand, but if you're a musical fan, you probably will have already at least heard a couple of songs from every musical we cover. If not, no big deal. You'll probably still enjoy the show, the antics of Katie and I and our special guests. So thanks for coming along on this journey with us, and we hope you have a little fun. Also, how about this amazing ditty playing in the background, brought to you by Texas Radio Fish on CC Mixter. Some Creative Commons music for you. With that, I think it's time for me to shut up and start the show. Music-Pals, what did you think of the Musical? Yeah! Isn't it? And now it fades away. Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, everyone.
Probably mostly ladies.
You know what?
For a while,
Don't
at least.
be sexist.
Well, just being realistic. Welcome to Music-Pals.
Oh, gosh.
Which may or may not be a working title. I'm Dan Newfer.
And I'm Katie Yilbang.
And we have decided to produce this amazing podcast in which we are going to talk about musicals.
We are.
And we are Music-Pals. To elaborate on that point, Katie is what we've described as a musical nerd.
I am.
And I am what we've described as a musical-Newb, to use a gamer term.
Yeah.
I know very little. I was in Charlie Brown the musical in high school, in which I played Linus.
Yes.
So I think I've got a little bit of cred.
I think you do too.
But very little. For instance, as we get into the show, audience, you'll notice that we've set up a bit of a structure. One of those structures is where we talk about the acts.
Yeah.
Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. Nope. Didn't find those. I don't know what the acts are. I was like, I thought there'd be like a slide that said like, that, done.
Like an old-timey.
Yes. Congratulations.
Movie musical.
Yeah. I thought there'd be an intermission.
You made it halfway.
Exactly.
Sometimes shows don't have an intermission.
See, these are the rules that I feel like they should abide by some structure.
Chicago does when you see it on stage.
Oh, it does have...
Yes, it does.
Like the stage, the curtains close, and it says, Act 1.
You made it. Go get a drink. You earned it.
Sweet. Speaking of, we've not yet mentioned, now several minutes into the podcast, our very first inaugural episode is going to be the musical Chicago.
And you might have guessed from the intro music if you are a musical nerd. Like
whether
me.
you're a musical noob or a musical nerd.
Now you know.
Who knows? Just start with general thoughts. What'd you think?
Great. So since I think Chicago is a lovely, beautiful musical, I think Candor and the team are geniuses.
Who's that?
So they wrote it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
What are their names?
John Candor and Fred Ebb.
Okay.
So Fred Ebb wrote the book and the lyrics, and John Candor writes the music.
Okay.
And they did Cabaret and Scottsboro Boys, to name a couple other musicals.
I've never heard of those things.
You'll learn soon enough.
I thought Cabaret was like a type of show.
It is, but it's also the name of a musical.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Look at this.
We're learning so much already.
Yes, we are. Audience, we're on a journey together.
So I think Chicago is great. I think using the form of a vaudevillian show to tell the story of these two women is so exciting, and it shows how, well, it just puts in your face that being a celebrity and being a criminal are so linked, and the performance aspect of all this stuff, and putting that form together is really brilliant, I think.
Yeah. I did enjoy that. I did enjoy that it was very true to form of life, in that celebrities are able to get away with literal murder, like O.J. Simpson, things like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting that this is vaudeville. I guess I didn't peg that. So overall, you like or love Chicago, would you say?
Here's the interesting part.
Okay.
I like it very, very, very much. I think the movie, don't be mad at me, I think the movie does a better job than the stage show. When we're talking about the movie right now, I think the glitz and the glamour is more exciting, and I don't always think this, but I think for this show, it's more exciting to see than, like, in this revival that's on Broadway currently. It's just, like, everyone in, like, slinky, all black, short little outfits and, like, some chairs.
Okay.
And they tell the story that way. And that's a cool thing to do, but I think seeing the spectacle and seeing what Roxy imagines in her mind, all these people being, and I think that's a little bit more exciting.
I can imagine the more stripped down form of this would get very boring and very lull. Like, it would lull quite a bit. Sure, it's artistic or whatever, but
yeah, I think sometimes that works very well, and I think especially like what the revival has done in like putting like Brandy in it and just like some celebrities. That's
like, a thing?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it's just like, it's really hard when you don't have like spectacular actors. But we digress.
So you feel like the movie did the story justice?
Yeah.
When was it written? Do you know?
So it was originally produced in 1975, and then it was revived again in the 90s. I forget the date. But what's cool is it's based on a play that was written in 1926, and then they turned it into a musical in the 70s.
That's why I was confused.
Yeah.
It's like based on a book, based on a play, based on a book, based on a movie, based on a play, based on a part.
Yeah. There are a lot of incarnations of this.
Yeah.
But the original play was written by one of the reporters that talked to these two women that these characters are actually based on.
Yeah, that actually leads me to my surprise. I've got a surprise already for you. So I actually watched the show on Amazon. I did my little Amazon rental. And what I didn't know that Amazon does is as you go through the movie, it pops up little trivia facts.
Oh, cool.
And some of them, like, for instance, I learned that the woman who wrote the play originally really did, like, a deep dive into actual murders. And so that was really cool. I've got it right here, the full write-up. Her name was Maureen Dallas Watkins. Two very public murders. So that was super cool. The other thing that Amazon does is provides the audience with facts that they never asked for. You don't know
I don't think you asked
why.
For any of them, but yes.
That's true. That's true. However, when I first see when I first see Mama, Matron Morton, I may or may not need to know that Queen Latifah had to coach her Bringing Down the House co-stars Steve Martin and Eugene Levy in hip-hop slang.
Yeah, that's not
I may or may not need to know that.
That's not appropriate for the show.
Watching. And so my journey into Chicago for the first time was speckled with these wonderful bits of trivia that I, of course, took screenshots of as we went throughout. And I'll be sure as we continue this podcast to drop some amazing tidbits on you. For instance, here comes another one. John C. Reilly lost a few pounds to play the rock star title character in Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. Not in this movie. He stayed
I needed
his normal.
to know that.
So these are facts that Amazon
It helps me understand his role in Chicago.
Exactly, yeah,
If
totally.
I know his process as an actor in other films.
Absolutely.
That makes
Especially the Dewey Cox story, which is exactly the same story.
Parody of.
Amazon brings me these facts, and I will bring them to you and in turn to our lovely listeners.
Thank you for the surprise.
And I am so excited about it. I've actually categorized them into thanks, Amazon, as things that I don't really need to know.
I love this segment.
The next one is, why do you know that? Is the other category.
Yeah. It was John C. Reilly like, I lost a few pounds.
Exactly. That was technically thanks Amazon, but it just as easily could have been in why do you know that? One example of why do you know that is anachronism. At 1:28, Velma and Mama are listening to the trial on a radio. The tubes are visible, glowing white. Real tubes of that era glow with a soft orange light. If they were glowing white, they would last about an hour, if
Why do you know that?
Which is why these are categorized.
Young Daniel, did you know that?
No!
Oh, okay.
I didn't know
But
that.
someone just told you.
It's
Amazon
the trivia.
told you.
Amazon told me.
I get it.
So why do you know that? And then the third category is just interesting.
Oh.
So I'm excited about that. I really love Amazon's trivia, and I hope to have such trivia facts each and every episode. All right, so overall, you've seen it several times before, though.
I've
This
seen it
wasn't your first
several
time.
times. Yeah.
This wasn't your first journey into Chicago.
No. What did you think
Sphere.
for your first journey into Chicago?
So what the fuck is really how I want to describe this musical. I won't call it bad, but I will not call it good. I will not. By no means.
No, it's good. Okay.
It is so fucked up. It is so fucked up. All right, here's the very first...
So is life, bro.
Well, it's true. But this is hyperbolized, I'd like to think. So my very first note, I took notes, listeners, because I'm a note taker. It helps me organize my thoughts. Everyone should take notes, which brings us to our first sponsors. Notes. Not sure, we don't have sponsors yet.
He pretends he doesn't know what a library is. Yeah, he takes.
Copious notes. My very first note, I can show you. Aggressive opening.
All right.
It's the very first thing I said.
Calm down.
All right. So in the first minute of this film or musical, shouting, backstage chaos, a beautiful number, a graphic sex scene, very graphic sex scene, a train.
It's a beautiful shot of the train. That's one of my favorite shots in the movie.
Oh, but if that's not enough,
All right.
2 minutes later we get domestic abuse and a murder.
The show's about murderers.
So many murders! I thought this was going to be like a jaunty bit about the 1920s in Chicago. Like, hey, I got some whiskey and you got a beer. Why don't we spread some cheer?
This deals with real stuff.
It's all murder.
It's about murderers.
Okay. I get that. But also, what the fuck? The one woman, Velma Kelly, murdered 2 people.
She did.
She murdered 2 people.
They were banging. She was mad at it.
And we're jumping ahead momentarily here, but by the end, she gets off. She didn't do anything. She just showed up in court.
They're based on real people.
It's just absurd.
They really happened.
It really happened?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we just discussed that.
No way.
I don't really think
I
it
have quotes
actually
from
happened.
them that are pretty exciting too, actually.
So,
Anyway,
before we dive into those, before we dive into the scene by scene of sorts, it was fine. It was a fine production. There was some moments where I was like, I enjoy this, and there were some moments where I was like, fuck you, fuck you, Mr. Ebb and Mr. Fosse.
No. You don't say that about them.
No.
I'm sorry, listeners.
Fuck you,
No.
Chicago.
Shut your mouth.
The only other overall note I have on the play musical, do you think Taye Diggs can actually play piano?
No.
I don't
But
think
I think he's sexy.
he's a sexy
And he
man.
deserves to be in that movie.
You know, though, he looks just like Seal. Seal and Taye Diggs, identical. They look identical.
It's nothing to do with Chicago.
Listeners,
We're editing that out.
we're going to put a poll up and see if Taye Diggs looks identical to Seal.
You've been wildly offensive
It's true.
so many times during this.
Here's Seal. Here's Taye Diggs. They are identical.
Fine.
They are
That's
identical.
kind of accurate.
Yep. Anyway, so Taye Diggs, we've established.
Huevos.
Let's backtrack here or circle back. You've always enjoyed Chicago.
Yeah.
I thought the movie adaptation was a little bit better. I think it's the most fucked up thing I've ever seen. I'd rather watch Human Centipede.
Wow! That is wrong to say.
That's also not true.
You're wrong.
I would hate to watch Human Centipede.
I love.
Although, if the guy in Human Centipede were in this movie, he'd probably get off because he sneezed
All right.
pleasantly.
I have so much to say to you.
Sorry, continue your thought.
All of these women got off. Like, this is what really happened in Chicago. Like, all these women were, like, in crimes of passioning people left and right, killing men, and they were getting off because of these sob stories that the papers would generate. So it's about, like, media portrayals of celebrity crime figures. First.
Well, I have a question on that then, while you think about it. It's definitely about the romanticism of celebrities.
Yeah.
How they're romanticized and marketed, and then they get to be Kim Kardashian somehow. I don't understand. But I wonder, at the same time, is there some like sexism underrooted? I think so, right? Because it's like, oh, she's just a dainty young girl. She can't actually hurt anyone.
Exactly.
When in all actuality, she murdered a dude.
No, it's sexist, but also racist. Because the one non-American girl is the one that dies. She can't speak English, and I feel like at that time, like, racism, too, was about different ethnicities more so than it is today. Like, not as much about color.
Oh, absolutely. People
like,
hated
it
the
definitely
Irish.
was color. I'm not saying it wasn't color, but I'm also, like,
well, it was almost
acknowledging that she's Russian and she...
Yeah. It was almost, it seems like historically, racism was almost so bad that people of color were just like, you're not even in our purview right now. Like, we're dealing with this Russian, Irish, French, German. We're dealing with how much we hate them right now. We'll get to you in a minute here, but right now you're not a person.
Yeah.
So,
And she's like, I think technically she's the only one that's actually innocent.
Yeah.
Well, she has that white scarf, so yes.
She makes the weird noises though in that
What are you talking
that number, the Murderous Six or whatever. What are they called?
What are you talking? Cell Block Tango.
Cell Block Tango.
Yeah.
Let's hear that noise real quick.
Okay.
What is that noise? Why is she going?
No. She's saying I didn't do it.
Yeah, well, she sounds like she's moaning in pleasure.
You are like pervy.
Oh,
Me?
how is that pervy? That is a sex
You
noise
heard a
if
sex
I've ever
noise.
heard one.
No one else heard a sex noise.
Listeners, you heard a sex noise. I know you did. Back me up.
Means no.
Why she gotta say it like that? Why can't she be like,
Because she's not American. You're being...
You know what she needed? She needed Queen Latifah to coach her in hip-hop slang. That's what this movie was missing.
Anyway, I do think it is like playing the woman card. A little bit, like how the media is giving them these sob stories, like, oh, she's just a poor little woman and she got caught up in jazz and liquor and it's not her fault and she's pregnant, don't hang her baby, you know?
Yeah, yep.
So it definitely is.
It's crazy to think too that is still that's still a fallback. Like just today, Donald Trump said something like, all Hillary Clinton has is her woman card. It's like, that's still, like, at the core, it's opposite, right? Because he's using it to make it seem like women are worse than men or lesser than men. In the 20s, they were using it they were innocent and could get off. But it's still, like, the exact same sexism.
Oh, exactly.
Almost 100 years later. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It is incredible.
Sexism. Racism. Celebrityism? Is that a thing?
I think now it is.
We've just made it. And just some jaunty jazz numbers. It's really the way
I do want to say, though, like, talking about the sexism, I do think these are, like, some badass chicks. Like, murder, bad.
Yeah,
I'm not
great.
going to argue that.
Not great.
But I do think that they're all, like, ladies doing it for themselves and they're like, or, she's like a jazz singer, and that's a cool thing.
Yeah, it's true.
Like,
yeah, they do.
I want to point out that,
they are kind of
some strong like girl powers going on too. Like Solo Tango's like tight.
Speaking of, brings us to our first segment.
Okay.
We haven't really walked through the musical yet, the story yet, but we'll get there. The first segment, I think, now, such a great segue, is what song do we think today could fit nicely into the musical? And I've got the perfect one.
What is
based on what you just said.
Tell me.
The Cell Block Tango, I think, well, it was a wonderful song. You take that out, you splice that out, and you grab Beyonce's Lemonade, that hour-long special she did on HBO. You toss that right into where Cell Block Tango was. Continuity. It's going to be a perfect musical all the way through. They're all about, like, fuck this dude. He was cheating on me. He was an asshole, so I murdered him. And she's like, Jay-Z, you're cheating on me, so I'm metaphorically murdering you. I mean, I haven't seen Jay-Z recently, so maybe he's actually been murdered. Who knows?
Might be true.
And boom. So that's Lemonade fits Cell Block Tango.
I love it.
Done.
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
And I chose Dangerous Woman by Ariana Grande.
Okay, let's see it.
Right?
We're gonna tell you only use a small portion of that song for copyright reasons.
I can't pay you, Ariana. I'm so sorry.
Sorry. But you seem pretty cool on SNL, so maybe she'll be cool with it.
She's the queen.
Great Cher impression.
She started off on Broadway too. Maybe she'll understand.
Really? Yeah. All right, so Dangerous Woman, why? Elaborate.
Yeah, totally. She's talking about how much she's into this guy, and she likes him so much, and it's like a crime of passion thing, like someone tango too. It's like, you make me feel dangerous, and I want to be a bad girl underneath.
I can see that.
It's like sexy.
Dangerous woman. So, although she's saying a dangerous woman in a good way, maybe not, you make me feel like I'm going to shoot you in the chest 3 times.
Well, listen to the rest of the song.
I will.
On your own time. And then we'll talk.
Do you think that could replace a song in there, or should it just go in the music?
I think it's the vibe.
It's just the general vibe.
Yeah, the general vibe.
I get you. I feel you, dog.
Yeah.
Nice. So, with that, should we go into the general scene by scene? Obviously, we don't have a scene by scene. It was a 2-hour movie.
We can just talk about cool moments.
I took, like I said, copious notes.
I can't wait to hear your notes and tell you why you're wrong that you
Perfect.
that way.
Why don't we start there? I'll go down my notes. You will jump in with any notes you have.
I'm so jazzed.
What have you?
Good.
All right. So first note I had, and I remember it. I remember thinking, so Velma Kelly walks backstage. She's in the alley. She rips the poster down, cleans the blood off her hand, which I didn't understand at first. I almost noted it, like, what the fuck's with the blood? Then I was like, I bet they're going to revisit it. And they did, right? But Guy, the director or stage manager or whatever, says the phrase, these people paid to see a sister act. And then I was like, holy shit, Whoopi Goldberg's going to be in this movie.
That was foolish of you.
And she wasn't. And I was really bummed. I was really disappointed. Bummed. I thought maybe it would cut, like, briefly into, like, a good scene, like that really great chorus scene from Sister Act 1, not 2. But it didn't happen.
Right.
It didn't happen. Can we do Sister Act? Is that considered a musical?
It was on Broadway, yeah.
We're going to do that.
We'll do Sister Act.
Anyway, so that was one of my notes. I really thought that Whoopi Goldberg was going to be.
You didn't really think that.
I did. She would have fit perfectly.
Well,
as
Whoopi's great in anything.
I don't know what character. Actually, as Mama. Not that Queen Latifah didn't do a great job. She did.
Queen Latifah killed it. But
speaking
we'll
of,
get there. Yeah.
One of my Amazon trivia notes.
Oh, yes. Lay it on me.
One person who they really wanted, actually I think, oh my God, I didn't even read this trivia note. Whoopi Goldberg was considered for Mama Morton. I should be a casting director.
You should be.
I'm gonna put this podcast thing on the back burner. I'm gonna go work on being a casting director. Anyway, another consideration, which I believe I read was the chief consideration, was Kathy Bates.
Interesting.
Which I thought, you know what, she would have done a great job.
She would have.
But I feel like there would have been a noticeable absence of ethnicities in the musical at that point, right? Like,
Word.
it would have all been white people other than Tay
Diggs.
Diggs. So I was like,
only diversity we got.
yeah. So I'm glad that they went with a little more diverse choice.
But yes.
That's true. Yeah. And another Mandy Moore auditioned.
Mandy Moore.
Really wanted to be
baby Mandy Moore.
that character who was Kitty Baxter, I believe was her name.
I don't know her name.
She wanted to be Kitty Baxter, but they said, "You're too young. You look too young." Oh. So I guess I guess that's calling Lucy Liu old.
Yeah.
But
that's also one of those things that you tell actors when it's like you just
kind of suck.
Weren't great.
Oh, is that what they do to me? Damn it!
Or they tell the truth. You never know.
Damn it! So some other considerations: Madonna for Velma Kelly.
Interesting.
I would have enjoyed that a little more, but I'll get into that.
No.
I'll get into that later.
No, you're wrong.
Goldie Hawn, I don't know. I assume probably for Roxy Hart, right? Yeah. Probably. What are some other ones? Let's see. Okay, Rosie O'Donnell for Mama. I wouldn't have enjoyed that. Not that I don't love Rosie O'Donnell. She's hilarious. But I would have felt like I was watching the Flintstones all over again. And I don't want to watch the Flintstones while I'm watching Chicago.
She's a legit Broadway lady, though.
Is she?
Yeah. She started in Grease and stuff.
Oh. I still don't feel... I don't know. I feel like... And she exudes New York.
I agree with that. I think Queen Latifah was the right choice.
Yeah. Great. So... Whoopi Goldberg was not in the movie. That's what that first note was. So then, sort of related, in that scene when Velma Kelly rises up out of the stage, from under the stage. First of all, that technology couldn't have existed back then, but okay. I mean, yes, it could have existed, but it probably wouldn't have existed in such a shitty bar in the middle of Chicago.
Suspend your disbelief. That's the first rule of
You got to do a lot of that here.
Yes, you do need to.
So let's get real for a moment.
Right.
When Tay Diggs announces two sisters, sister act, blah, 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 and one person comes up, people are going to be pissed.
The show must go on.
But I don't care. But the musical did not go into, I wanted to see the audience booing Catherine Zeta-Jones for more reasons than one.
She's such a star that they don't care. They're like, this is still exciting.
I know that's what they were trying to imply.
Scantily clad ladies. They're still jazz.
Lady.
And we're all drunk off of our giggle juice. And we don't care.
Giggle juice.
Giggle water is what they called it, actually. That's a gangster slang term.
Beetlejuice's
from the time.
Infant child.
Yeah.
Giggle juice.
Yeah. His choice.
I still think the audience would have rebelled. They would have been like, this is not cool. I paid for two ladies to dance around scantily clad and get on my giggle bottoms or whatever.
You're making it...
I didn't like that.
Sexier than it was.
Well.
Alright, I don't care. Next.
Alright, next. Oh, yes, I love this. First of all, when I saw John C. Reilly was in it, I was like, awesome, fantastic.
Yes,
He's great, hilarious, and an excellent actor. Probably the second best casting choice, I think. Queen Latifah. Best casting choice. So Amos Hart is telling the fake story, right? I came home and I shot the dude, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And then he, utters one phrase. I can't remember right now if it was him or the detective. One phrase. And then he just goes into it, calling her a tramp, calling her a liar. He's making some assumptions.
You're wrong. Name the deceased Fred Casely. Fred Casely, he sold us our furniture. Then she sings, Lord knows he ain't got the smarts. So there's time in between.
Wait, and then she sings...
The detective's name of deceased Fred Casely.
Right.
And he's like, Fred Casely, he sold us our furniture. So he connects the dots that he's not a stranger.
Listen, I get that.
There's time.
But if I find out that...
Amos isn't completely dumb.
If I find out that my girlfriend or wife has just murdered a man, and then I just happen to make the connection that man just sold me a couch... I'm not going to immediately go, you tramp, you whore, you liar, you bitch. I'm going to go, that's weird. But I'm going to let that go. Because I would think, okay, he's both a furniture dealer and a burglar, because furniture dealers probably don't make that much money. That's not true. They probably make a lot of money anyway. I don't buy
in
it.
the 20s.
I kind of wanted to sit Amos down and be like, whoa, man.
Whoa.
Take a step back.
Whoa, Nelly.
Let's address the situation silently for a moment.
I mean, we're dealing with murder, though. We're dealing with heightened emotions.
That's true.
I get it, but I also, like, I'm okay with it.
All right, so we'll call that a tie.
We'll call that
between you and I. So I thought it was really interesting when Velma Kelly, Mama walks by Velma Kelly in prison, which that was actually really cool that they didn't say that she was ever going to prison. They just like quickly flashed the police and then she was in prison.
Connect the dots there.
That was pretty
storytelling,
cool.
Yeah.
Was good storytelling. Then she like says something and just pulls out $1. And that made me, like, I was like, I know it's the 20s,
Okay.
and I understand that, but I looked up the inflation calculator.
Okay.
You flash $1, and she says something like, where this came from. Something equivalent to, like, there's more where this came from, or something like that. Whatever she says.
Yeah.
Maybe she says something different. That's, like, $10. Big deal. That $1 in the 20s amounts to, like, $10 now. If you're in prison and you flash $10... What am I going to do with $10? Buy 2 Subway subs? Not even, with tax.
Okay.
Don't.
I still...
Pull out a 20, is all I'm saying.
But they're not, like, all rich.
She is.
Like, $10 then would have, like, bought you at least, like, 3 meals, I think.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
There were no Subway subs back then. Thank God, which means there wasn't any Jared, which is a great thing. But at the same time, there were no $5 hot and readies or $5 footlongs.
If I remember correctly, though, she's paying her for a phone call, right?
That was later, so that was my next argument.
Okay.
I was going to see if you were going to go there, and you did.
I did.
Like 3 scenes later, she's talking like a phone call is going to cost you $50. Phone call is going to cost you $100. And then the lawyer is going to cost you $5,000. The stakes are raised from $1 to $5,000.
She's talking about, is this always with Velma? I forget. Or
No, the $100
Roxy,
is with Roxy.
So, interesting character choices. It's usually played that Mama Morton is gay.
Okay.
And that some of the favors that, like, When You're Good to Mama, like, that song is, like, about some lesbian sex.
Oh.
And so it's implied that Velma and Mama, like, have that kind of relationship. So, Roxy doesn't with her. So that's why she pays more.
See, they didn't make that clear.
Yeah, they don't make it clear. I don't know if it's clearer in the stage show or if it's just knowing the script.
From having seen it so many times.
Yeah.
So Mama is hooking up with Velma.
Yes.
So that's why things are cheaper.
Because she's, like, rubbing her back. We see it, like...
I wonder why they didn't bring that through into the movie. I don't care for Catherine Zeta-Jones.
How can you not care for her?
I just don't. I don't like her.
You're wrong.
Here's another Amazon trivia. Great segue. I didn't like her. I've never liked her, and I can't say exactly why. But then I read this trivia fact, and it still doesn't describe why I dislike her, but I think it's an excellent example of why I might dislike her.
Okay.
So I'll just read it word for word. Producer Martin Richards approached Catherine Zeta-Jones about appearing in this film version of the play after being wowed by her renditions of carols at a family Christmas party in Bermuda. Her and husband Michael Douglas's home. I guess that means at her and husband Michael Douglas's home. Go fuck yourself.
You're mad at her for being successful?
I was singing Christmas carols at my home in Bermuda when Martin Richards said, "Oh my God, Catherine, you're incredible. Could you please be in my number?"
You're wrong.
And then, another piece of trivia, the only reason that Catherine Zeta-Jones said yes, she'd never even seen the musical. She was like, only if I can sing all that jazz. She's a brat. I think she's a brat. Catherine Zeta-Jones, I also think that you could kick my ass in a real life fisticuff
I think she's
battle.
lovely. I think she's so good in this role.
I didn't enjoy it.
Oh, man.
I didn't enjoy her in
Being
it.
a bummer right
She was
now.
my least favorite character in the whole thing. And I think I could have
Well, you're
loved that
not supposed
character.
to, like... I don't think you're supposed to love Velma.
It's not even...
Like you said, they're murderers.
Yeah, it's true.
And she's, like, a bitch to Roxy the whole time.
Yeah, but Roxy's a bitch back to her.
Roxy's a bummer, too, for sure.
Yeah, I didn't care for that casting
I
choice.
think she's great.
I couldn't stand her. I could not stand her.
Well,
Also, one point, jumping ahead,
agree to disagree.
there's a scene in, I believe it's the... Oh, yeah, so we neutral on... No, I think I win that one. Catherine Zeta-Jones is terrible.
I don't think
I've officially convinced you,
you have not.
for all intents and purposes,
She is lovely.
that she's terrible
Please, Catherine.
and sings Christmas carols in her home.
You're mad at her for being successful. Like, that's not allowed.
I'm sorry, there are millions of other successful people out here who don't sing Christmas carols in her home in Bermuda.
How do you know that? Are you at every successful person's vacation home during Christmas time?
Yes. I'm Santa Claus. Successful or unsuccessful, I'm there.
I can't argue with that
I
sound.
deliver all the presents
Point, Daniel.
to all the kids in the world. And I know for a fact Catherine Zeta-Jones is terrible.
Fine.
She's been on the naughty list for years. So moving on. This is a couple of things about the tango.
Okay.
Great number. Really enjoyed it. I didn't love. I liked. I didn't love the choreography in it. I thought it was cool how they were. What I thought was really awesome. They were all in the back line, and then as they told their story, they left the back line. That was super cool. I liked that a lot. But the rest was kind of like a flat. Like they were just doing the same tango over and over again. I was like, this is kind of boring.
It's not.
This is kind of boring.
I disagree. When she like straddles that guy and like pulls the scarf out of his mouth, like with her mouth.
Yeah, that was kind of
Like
cool.
that's really cool.
That was cool.
It's cool choreography. Come on. And then when all of them are together singing and dancing, and there's just like a ton of women, like that's like. It's a cool moment.
I just felt like it was kind of normal. Like it was just like, yeah, I've seen this in every other musical.
Well, maybe every other musical copied Chicago.
You think that Chicago is the originator of that? It was made in the 70s.
It was.
I think you're going to go ahead. I think you've just disagreed with yourself in that statement, which means I win.
Fine.
I win this argument. So the next point. So we talk about how all these women are awesome and their men were terrible, and they murdered him, and that's
It's equal.
cool. That's all right. Women power, sure. However, one of the women murdered her husband for chewing fucking gum. That's it. That's it. I was like, listening, is that a metaphor? Did he chew gum while he was fucking the receptionist?
Not chewing, popping.
Popping. Popping gum, chewing gum, blowing gum. I don't care what you're doing with gum if it does not involve infidelity, weird diddling or something like that. I don't know. I'm just going there. If it doesn't involve something else that is incendiary or gross, you don't deserve to be murdered.
I mean, I agree, that's not a reason to murder.
I hope so.
But I don't know. I'm just telling a damn story.
I don't know. It's not an argument.
That's why she's in prison. Like,
Yeah, it's just dumb. The rest of these women, you're like, okay, that woman's innocent. Okay, that woman
but guys are
deserves
annoying
it.
sometimes. I get it.
What? Excuse me? All right, so
Not just guys,
now,
but, like, anyone can just annoy you so much that you're just like, oh! And
So
you don't
you
murder them,
murder.
but you just like, oh! You know, it just feels like that. And you're just like,
yeah, but the separation between you saying that and the women or men in prison for having murdered someone for being annoying is now so thin that I fear for my own life.
But of course you don't murder someone about that. I understand the feeling. I would never actually murder.
I'm starting to think that you would.
Well, we'll see what my life.
I'm going to
turns
let
out
you
to
win
be.
this one because I don't want you to murder me.
Yes.
All right, so onward.
Let me win this this one.
Also,
I'm going to murder you for that comment.
damn it, backfired. The last note I have about the tango is, finally, for years, I've had a question on my mind, an inkling, call it, not even a question, that has plagued me.
Okay.
And it has dug at me every time I've seen a piece of media featuring this person, and based on the way this person is dressed in that number, I can officially confirm, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Catherine Zeta-Jones has no nipples whatsoever. This is it. I'm certain of it.
I have to Google it.
It is established, and for that, the creators of Chicago, I thank you. She's got no nipples. She has no nipples.
I need a picture of this.
There is a scene with her dress on where her whole boob, it's the whole boob, unless her nipple is placed beneath the flap part.
Oh, you're right. But I think it's just like skin color fabric.
I know that. I thought about that, and I just want to believe that that's not true. And I'm going to confirm.
Because she has a similar dress like that on in red when she's doing I Just Can't Do It Alone.
And she has no nipples.
I think it has to be fabric that's the color of her skin.
We're going to leave this neutral for a moment. Here's why. Listeners, as God is my witness, as you is my witness, I swear that someday I will track down Ashton Kutcher and I will ask him whether or not...
Wait.
Did he not date Catherine Zeta-Jones? Oh, they're so similar. They're so similar. They look so similar.
No, yeah, they're not. You'll track down her husband and ask.
Who was her husband? Who is her husband? Oh, Michael Douglas. Yeah. We already read it.
You read it.
All right. Redux. Audience. As God is my witness. As Ashton Kutcher as my witness. He's here somewhere. He's everywhere. He's probably punking me right now. I will track down Michael Douglas and ask him if Catherine Zeta-Jones has nipples. I'll find out. All right. That was a moment. We're going to leave that on the back burner for now. I don't need it. Mostly because Michael Douglas, I can imagine, is difficult to have a conversation with. Well, he seems like a frightening
man. You like anyone, Daniel?
Yeah, I don't dislike Michael Douglas.
Okay.
He's just frightening looking. He looks like a lizard person from the planet Lizard.
Yes. Hashtag lizard truth.
Lizard truth. He's a frightening man. Great in Ant-Man. Played oh, it was wonderful in Ant-Man.
Never see that.
His best role.
Okay.
So this confirms that potentially we're leaving that neutral. Catherine Zeta-Jones may or may not, but doesn't have nipples.
I think it's funny, so I think you win.
All right, deal. Let's see. Briefly, I wanted to address something else that bothered me in this.
Okay.
What an undersecured, lackadaisical prison this is. We've got women doing costume changes frequently. There's a scene where Velma Kelly is talking to Mama, and first Mama says, okay, like something like, okay, I'm going to get you out of jail. And then a moment later, Velma Kelly's like, you're going to get me in a stadium? Like, you're going to book me at a stadium? What? Whoa. She just said she's getting you out of jail after murdering 2 people. How? And your very next thought is not thank you. It's not, oh my God, how? It's not even like questioning whether or not this is morally sound. Your very next question is, okay, well, when you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to ask for some milk. Can you book me on a stadium? Come the fuck on, Velma Catherine Zeta-Jones. Kelly.
But that's, I don't know, reveals character. Performing is the most important thing in her life, right?
Is performing the most important thing in her life, or is just being popular the most important thing in her life?
Well, great question. Being a celebrity probably is more important.
Way more important.
Yeah.
Yeah. She didn't care. She doesn't care.
Wants a name in the papers.
That's right. Didn't that feel good with all our press, with both our names in the papers? They said something like that.
They said that, yes.
Yeah. So. I don't know. Yeah, so I guess that is... You're right. It is... It's more character development for Velma Kelly.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, she's not supposed to be a great person. you know.
Yeah. I just was so flabbergasted at that moment. Like, are you fucking kidding me? How about a thank you? How about one thank you for getting me out of prison after murdering my husband and my sister?
Well, she's paying Mama for it too, though.
Oh my God, she's paying Mama $100. Wow. Yep. Oh, also, so at next point, just in that same scene at 33 minutes and 30 seconds, I noted it. Queen Latifah, Mama, straight up calls Velma Kelly a basic bitch. And it is hilarious. She says,
"She's something, ain't she? I tell you, no matter how big she gets, she's still as common as ever." I like to help you, dearie.
So she says, I tell you, no matter how big she gets, she's still as common as ever.
Hashtag basic.
Hashtag, that's a basic bitch.
That's a basic bitch.
And I love it. And I sort of wonder if that was in the original script or if Queen Latifah was like, we should call it basic.
It's like, nah, like.
That's really, well, don't go with basic, just go with common. And she was like, all right, fine.
More time for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I just was like, I gotta note that. That's hilarious.
I have to note that.
So that's a win for having noted Queen Latifah.
Yeah.
I like this game that we've developed, though. I guess I've developed it out of my...
You just need points, so I'll give you points.
My intense drive for competition. I need points involved in some degree. All right. The one thing that I really enjoyed about the movie is throughout they sort of, not a lot, I kind of wanted it to be a little more, but they revealed characters. Like, you saw a silhouette, or they would talk about a character, and then they would show you who they cast, and you're like, oh, cool. Like, they did that with Mama. They did it a little bit with Amos. They definitely did it with Catherine Zeta-Jones, although I didn't care because I don't like Catherine Zeta-Jones. So it was really cool, like, the drum roll, like, oh, who's it going to be? And I can imagine, had you seen the musical in other iterations, you'd be like, oh, yeah, who'd they get to play Mama? That's so cool. Especially having heard, like, nothing of it. However, the biggest lead up was for Billy Flynn.
Uh-huh.
It was a drum roll. He was like hiding. He was silhouetted. And who's this bitch? I have no idea.
He's famous.
I know he is. And I looked up his name. I was like, I've heard that name before. Richard Gere.
Yeah.
I was like, who the
famous,
fuck
like,
is
90s
this?
rom-com guy.
No idea.
So, like,
We're
all gonna know him.
I
don't want to bang Richard Gere.
How? But who? I don't know shit.
Everyone wants to bang Richard Gere.
Is that like I don't?
He's so sexy. Watch his rom-coms. You'll be like, damn.
I won't watch a rom-com.
What is my sexuality?
As a rule, I won't watch anything that's frequently abbreviated.
All right.
As a rule.
That's a bummer.
It was just disappointing. I was like, man,
really?
I think they could have cast that. I mean,
No,
I'm wrong.
Great.
By the end of the movie, I was like, or the musical, I was like, yeah, he is great. But at that moment, I was like, oh, come on, it could have been such a cooler person.
For literally everyone else in America, though, they're like, this is tight. Everyone else knows who Richard Gere is.
Well, that's because I spent most of my life in Sweden. So I'm not most Americans.
Well, exactly.
Never been to Sweden. Great meatballs,
Learn to
though.
assimilate.
Great meatballs. I didn't care for the casting, but I'll accept the loss. I'll accept the loss. We both reached for the gun. That scene was awesome. Really cool. At first, I was like, you don't like puppets. No one ever likes puppets. No one likes to look at puppets.
Afraid of puppets, yeah.
But then you get life-size puppets holding sharpened things, pencils in this case. Huh? That's not a scene you initially go into thinking, I'm going to enjoy this.
Sure.
You go into that thinking, this is frightening and I hate this. However, that scene was awesome. I loved it. It was like choreographed so cool. They were all like either syncopated or in unison, and it was awesome.
Really cool.
Really cool.
Really, really. I'm glad you liked it.
Do they do that scene? I feel like that's the way that scene was intended to be choreographed and filmed. Do they do that justice in other iterations that you've seen?
So in the Broadway one, it's just Billy Flynn and Roxy, and he's like marionetting her. And then I feel like around them, like the chorus is doing choreography that's similar, but they're not like exactly tied up
Okay.
on strings, because that's hard to do, and it's a pared down production anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's still like a marionette.
That's cool.
That's like vaudeville, you know?
Yeah.
So
and it's super cool, yeah, to call back to like the roots. Now I'm realizing, like to the roots of vaudeville and where this came from. But it also fits. It's a perfect metaphor.
Yeah, exactly. That's why Cantor Never are so smart. That's why they write brilliant musicals.
Still.
Come on.
Fuck off. Never mind.
No, we don't say that about them.
No, that was just super cool, and the way that it built to in the music itself, where like at least I thought this is the way, at least I perceived it, where the reporters would say like one or two words, they would like repeat, and then by the end they were like rapping the same exact thing over and over again. I was like, really cool.
This is really cool.
Really cool.
Yeah,
so that
scene
scene
is powerful.
That scene really, I think that may have sold it for me with Richard Gere.
With our good friend Richard.
Old Richie Rich.
Love you here. Yeah.
That scene was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed that scene, especially going into it thinking, I have entered the pits of hell. This is this is the seventh layer of Dante's Inferno, and this is where I lay to rest. That's how I entered that scene. So to come out of it and think that scene was awesome.
Oh,
yeah.
What a brilliant story of redemption.
It really was, and very cool. The only point of contention I have with that scene, and I think it's fair, at the end, he's doing that classic bit where a puppeteer will drink something, and the puppet continues to talk. Why milk? Why did they chose milk? They chose a glass of milk.
That's a good question, and I feel like it must just have been something that performers used at the time. I don't know. Or maybe it shows up, it like looked better on camera than clear water.
Clear water wouldn't work, but I thought like I guess they never show him like drinking, but I thought like...
Because he's a wholesome image. It's probably a wholesome thing. No, not in reality, but how he portrays himself. All I care about is love, like, you know.
Now
so maybe the milk is like the wholesomeness. I don't know.
While tobacco kind of was the larger one there, even back in that day, milk very much was like victim to being falsely marketed as like something that you have to have. It's like the greatest thing.
It's great. It's the best thing.
For you. Yeah, I mean, obviously cigarettes were the bigger thing there, but milk even then was like scientists say it's the best thing for you, and that lasted until like
now.
Still now, yeah.
Milk,
Fortunately, I've risen above it. I think most people have.
Great job.
Yes, almond milk all the way.
You rose above.
Although those almond milk commercials are terrible.
You're such an old man.
So bad. What do we got an almond with a weird green body talking about? I don't like it. So I like that. I like the milk choice does make sense to me now. Because it was like it even, and you know what? It even was like an off color. I felt like maybe if I go back, I'd have to check on it. It wasn't like a solid white milk, which almost is even further metaphorically like. It looks like milk, but it might not have been milk. Might have been a white Russian.
Exactly. It's all the razzle dazzle. It's all just like making you believe.
Brilliant move. I liked it.
What it is.
I wonder if that's written into the script. Like he's got to drink translucent milk. Probably not. But either way.
It's not a huge enough moment that I think filming attention to detail is important. So I thought it's on purpose.
It was that scene bumped. At the end of the podcast, of course, we rate on 3 different levels how we felt about it. And one of those levels, which shall remain nameless at the moment, that scene bumped it up a whole notch in my book. So I really, really enjoyed that scene. Great scene.
Yay.
Why do you think Renee Zellweger, Wigger, whatever you call her, I don't know if it's in the script or if it's something, maybe you can tell me this. So Velma Kelly does this whole number where she's like, and then my sister does this, and then I do this, and that was fine. I didn't like that scene. Yeah, I didn't love that number, but it was fine. It fit in the story. Then she turns to Renee Zellweger, Roxy Hart. Yep, and she says like, "What do you think?" And the whole musical is so quick-witted, and all they could think of at that moment was a fart noise. Literally makes a fart noise. She literally goes,
Roxy.
come on.
Roxy is not. That's so Roxy, though.
How is that so
And that's so the Roxy that Renee created. She, I think, is like not actually the smartest, right? She's
Sure.
not the most educated.
Yeah. She's definitely an idiot.
I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense character-wise.
I guess, but
Because she's so sassy, too. And she does all those, like, like...
Yeah, that was kind of odd. I think my issue with those moments, in that one too, where you're talking about when Queen Latifah calls Val McKelly a basic bitch, the scene before that, or the moment before that, where she does like the mocking voice, that and the fart noise. Did they do fart noises in the 20s? I don't think they did. I don't think anyone farted in the 20s. Anyway, I thought that was... I just don't think that happened in the 20s. Farts may have. They didn't. I just looked it up.
You know what?
But I don't think people
You're
went...
wrong. I don't know. I think it's okay.
I don't like
to
it.
do. I think it's alright.
I don't think so. I think Renee Zellweger.
I like those choices. I think she made a cool Roxy.
I don't know how I felt about her, Roxy. I don't know enough about the character to judge it, but I didn't like the fart noise, so I win.
Alright.
Let's see. When she said, well, first when I found out that what's her name on Lakeshore Drive. Did you notice that? That was cool.
Yeah.
For the audience, for the listeners who aren't familiar with Chicago geography, Lakeshore Drive is a very large road in Chicago, and in the movie and maybe the musical itself, in the script, they get a call and he says, Richard Gere says, what's his character name? Billy
Flynn.
Billy Flynn says, there's a murder on Lakeshore Drive, a triple homicide. Hey! That's just up the road. It's just a mile away.
We walk there all the time.
So cool. So that was cool. But then also I noted, in all caps, is this a Tarantino film? So many murders. So many murders.
It's about murders.
I didn't know that going in.
Also, this many, murders happen every day in Chicago. So.
I choose to believe that nothing outside of a 1 mile radius of my person actually exists. So...
Well, it's really irresponsible.
It's just a fact.
It was just normal. It was normal. This is also a time when gangsters were chilling, running around. This happened in Chicago every day. It was normal, and it still happens every day.
Yeah, I know, but holy shit!
There's a lot of murder because it's about murders.
So many murders.
It's literally.
I thought it was going to be such a nice, happy musical. With some jazz numbers and some...
Kendra and Upstark.
Oh my god, so many murders. But anyway, in the end, it was about murder, so whatever. Let's talk about Amos.
Yeah.
Amos, you poor piece of shit.
Poor little schlub.
He's just a piece of shit. And I feel so bad for him.
Yeah.
He's a piece of shit.
And John C Reilly does an excellent job.
He does. Because John C Reilly is incredible.
Just such a sweetie. Oh... And it's just so heartbreaking the whole time.
Oh my god! He
loves her so much.
Puts up the he's
gonna go to jail.
Throws her gonna go to jail. Then he's like, oh wait, she's terrible.
Oh wait.
And then a little bit later, oh but I still love her, so I'm gonna put up $5,000. He only got $2,000, but still.
He got the rest of it though.
Yeah, and then he did get the rest of it. I didn't know that.
Over the course of the.
Gotcha.
I think
$20 a week out of his paycheck.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh my god, you feel so bad for him.
Yeah.
And then the baby thing happens, and he shunts her off. But then she's like, "No, there is a baby." And
he's like, "I'm going to be a dad. We're going to be a family. It's going to be great." He buys the whole story in court.
Oh my god!
You see the hope on his face.
So,
and Mr. Cellophane, what a great
which
number.
is a great song. Mm-hmm. It was a perfect way to define him. I think it's so inventive to think.
Crown.
Oh my god, that makeup that was cool. And to think of the word cellophane, you can think of anything there. You can just think plastic or glass or wind or like so many things are clear, but then you think of cellophane, you're like, cellophane isn't just clear, it's also obnoxious and shitty. And so that's such a good definition of just like this run down. So it's really nice. So, but along the lines of Mr. Cellophane, he sang that song. It was nice. He's got a nice voice. Mm-hmm. He sang the song. I cannot tell you how badly I wanted at the end when he does that kind of a higher note. At the end, he just goes, boats and hoes. I wanted it to happen.
Why?
So bad.
Why would he say boats and hoes?
From Step Brothers.
Yeah, but it's just not appropriate.
But how? How could I not?
No.
How could I not want that?
So, you think it's weird that Amazon is bringing up the Walk Hard.
Yeah.
And you're bringing up Step Brothers.
Well, Step Brothers is an incredible movie. I was craving it.
You're wrong.
The song ended and I was hearing Mr. Cellophane, boats and hoes in my head for hours. It would have fit so perfectly.
The last lyric of the song.
Well, whatever it is. What's the last lyric of the song? Never even know I'm there. Boats and hoes.
No.
Would have been so good.
No.
I was craving it. And it didn't happen.
It shouldn't have happened.
It should have happened.
No.
Should have happened.
No. Poor guy, though. Our good friend Amos.
Great song, though.
What a schmuck.
Great John C. Reilly. Terrible character.
Terrible.
Nicely written character.
Exactly.
Terrible character.
Just like, what a poor guy.
Yep.
He never had a chance.
He didn't.
Roxy's just too much.
So moving quickly downward, I actually think Mr. Cellophane probably could have come earlier in the musical. Didn't need to, but I don't know. I actually kind of wanted to see. It makes sense that he didn't, but I wanted to see him have maybe 2 numbers. But just because he was such a well-developed character, he was the only character in the whole, maybe with the exception of Billy Flynn, that I felt like actual emotion about. Like Billy Flynn, I was like a little bit of like, oh, that guy's cool. Everyone else I was just kind of neutral about, other than Catherine Zeta-Jones, who I just don't like. But he was the only character who I was like strongly like, I feel terrible for you.
That's interesting. I mean, yes, he's like the only like good person.
Yeah,
in the show,
he really is.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think for that reason I wanted him to have 2 numbers. But I guess had he had 2 numbers, maybe that emotion would have been diminished.
Yeah, I think too because like everything's kind of through the lens of Roxy and her imagining all these people performing, introducing themselves and whatever, and it's like how
it's in her imagination.
Is that a serious question?
I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah.
It's all like, that's...
How the movie's showing it is it's like she's like imagining like, oh, she's meeting Mama Morton. She's like imagining her,
oh my God, you're blowing my mind right now. No idea.
So it's like through Roxy's eyes, so it makes sense that Amos would just like be like shut in the back.
Didn't pick up
and then, like,
on that for a moment.
Like, I think it like once you set up the form, like it opens up and then there's like song numbers that are just on their own.
See, that makes so much sense. I felt like the songs never had a purpose in the musical.
No,
now they do.
They do.
Oh my God!
Because now she's like imagining herself as a singer. Yes, they are. Thank you for understanding. Yeah, because she's imagining.
Well, I'm not changing my opinion on the show overall. Let's be clear.
But that part is brilliant, right?
Fuck up. that was a brilliant move.
Yes.
That was really
brilliant.
Smart.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you're right. So then it wouldn't have made sense as well for Amos.
Exactly. Because he's like tertiary. She doesn't give a...
Such a bitch. Ugh, what a jerk. That's cool. I like that. I understood but did not care for how Billy Flynn tap danced while he was doing his thing with the judge.
It's called a tap dance.
Huh?
It's called a tap dance.
It's called a tap dance?
Yeah.
I guess.
That's the point of it. Is like.
I guess. Wait, the song is called a tap dance?
The number is called a tap dance.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, I guess that makes more sense, but it just was distracting. I couldn't
It's
hear.
supposed to be distracting. He's supposed to be distracting from the fact that he doesn't know what he's going to say.
Yeah, but it was distracting me as an audience member.
What do you mean?
I was like, what do you say? Hey,
That's the point of it.
Could you quiet your feet down? I'm trying to figure out what words you're saying.
But the words aren't important. That's the point. You're wrong here. You're wrong. You're just wrong.
In the interest of time, I will relent because I believe the current score is 100-0 in my favor.
You know.
So,
and I find that sexist. Continue.
So I will allow it 100-1.
Gross.
You now have 1 point. I think the moment that I was most amused in the entire musical.
Oh gosh, here we go.
Was the fact that journalism in the 1920s is exactly the same as the Super Bowl nowadays.
Explain.
How they just print both, let's say the Detroit Lions, that's a laugh, and the Baltimore Ravens are both in the Super Bowl. They print the hats and the T-shirts from both, right, just so that they can give them away
right away
based on the winner. And then what happens to those hats and T-shirts is they are generally, the losing team is generally shipped to third world countries so that they can use those clothes, which is great.
Oh no.
It's great that they have clothing, and that's great.
That's nice.
So I was wondering, are there kids in Africa today who still believe that Roxy Hart was found guilty? Kids in third world countries.
Like, oh gosh, they hung her.
They did it. They killed her. Yes, they shipped because they printed both newspapers. They printed guilty and innocent.
No, they did.
And
with those newsies.
I like to think that they took those guilty newspapers and shipped them overseas to third world countries and kids everywhere.
Toilet paper.
Yep. And reading materials. Because as we know, children in third world countries may not have food and clothing, but they can read English. That's a fact. I like to think that there were kids in Africa who thought she was guilty, and then some of them may have made it to the U.S. at some point and then went, holy shit, Roxy Hart is still at large? Fuck.
I feel unsafe.
I gotta get out of here. I thought I was unsafe in Africa with lions and bears and genocide.
Oh no.
There are probably no bears in Africa. But now that I'm in America, I'm afraid of Roxy Hart. Mm-hmm. As you should be.
As you should be.
She's a murderer. Last two notes. First of all, after she's said she's innocent, or she's been given innocence, or granted innocence, the other woman in the street shoots her husband. Mm-hmm. And I said to myself out loud, well, yeah, of course, you dumb shits. You're going to keep letting people get away with murder, then other people are going to just murder. And this is not the purge. You can't just let people get away with murder.
Again, young Daniel, you seem so surprised that this musical is about murder.
I was shocked. I was shocked it was about murder, and then I was again shocked that it was about so many people getting away. Literally, there's a phrase called "getting away with murder."
Yeah.
And they were all getting away with murder.
Well, there was an entire show about it, though. Like, people get away with murder every damn day.
You're getting deep here.
Thanks.
I just thought, come on. You gotta see it. You're gonna see it coming.
Yeah.
Trump's America.
Yeah.
That's right. Hashtag Trump's America.
Hashtag, please no. Yeah. I mean, but that's the point. It's like, there's going to be a new one, so you can't base your celebrity off of this.
Right.
It's a fickle,
but
it's not worth it.
Arguably, the writers were implying, like, this is just going to keep happening.
Exactly.
Like, it's never going to end.
No, exactly. It's a corrupt system. It's just...
Yeah. Which I thought was perhaps a bit too much hyperbole. Mm. The journalists as puppets was not quite too much hyperbole for me. But the next murder, the ending with a murder was too much hyperbole for me.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think so, Daniel?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Respectfully disagree.
So I'll win that one. We'll each get a point, so it's 101-2.
That's really rude.
So unfortunately, while I would have loved to take such elaborate notes throughout the ending of this show, the only note I was able to take, which is very important, is, quote, boy, this ending is dragging on.
The dance one?
Holy shit! There's a one. It could have ended with the woman shooting a man in the street. I believe that's.
You think so?
And then they
But
do.
it's not about her.
They do, what? Yeah, but that's like.
It's about Velma and Roxy.
But it's not about Velma and Roxy. It's about these larger topics: sexism, racism, celebrities getting away with things. It's about these larger topics, and I felt that was a better metaphor than okay. Now let's go watch Roxy and Amos talk to each other and talk about things that we all already knew. There wasn't a baby. You were in a fucking women's prison. There wasn't a baby. Let's go and watch them become famous again and make light of the fact that they murdered three people each. And then let's go into the fact, that was before, but let's go into the fact that she, with Catherine Zeta-Jones, is poor now. And it's just like...
They're both poor.
Too much. Just cut it off. Cut the cord.
Fine.
Too much.
I disagree, though. You have to tie up those loose ends.
The loose ends were already tied.
No.
I didn't need to know that they became famous again.
But also, I don't know if that number is real. I think it might be another fantasy sequence. That's my biggest question about the show. Is did they actually become successful and get a show and perform together, or is it just Roxy imagining this again? And it's another dream sequence, and it's not because Billy Flynn and Mama Morton and all those audience members in the room together, that makes it seem real. And
that's. Roxy Hart is a nut job.
She is a nut job.
She's
a murderer. She's crazy bananas.
Settled. It's brilliant. Brilliant.
Yay!
Wow.
I'm glad you agree.
You know what? That's brilliant. What are their names again? Bob Fawcett.
Bob Fawcett's
and
choreography.
Fred Egg.
No, there's one more.
What? Bob Fawcett, Fred Egg.
Fosse.
And whoever the other guy is.
John Candy-Freda.
John Candyman Can. Great job.
Show some respect.
Really great. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're really brilliant.
Wow.
Yeah. Wait till we do Cabaret, my young friend.
Oh.
Cabaret's my favorite musical.
Oh, minus your good man Charlie Brown. Especially minus.
Especially minus.
Wow, that blows my mind.
They're so smart, right?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
They tell a beautiful story.
All right, so that's the end of the synopsis overall.
Yeah, those are our opinions. Tell us if you agree or disagree.
Yeah, or don't, because I'm not going to read them.
I care about you, at least.
You might. I don't. So we're going to end with really three last activities here.
More jazz.
First one, let's score it. Let's give our scores.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So we score on a triangular basis, triangulated, a trinity of... I'm making a triangle on my... Trifecta. Those are writing, music, and pageantry. Pageantry is my favorite category.
Probably mine, too.
So I actually am going to up my ante here.
Okay.
So music, I'm not. I'm going to keep it where it is.
Okay.
2 out of 5.
2 out of 5.
Below average.
Oh.
A couple of good songs. And even those good songs, I felt like couldn't hold much weight without the choreography.
But just because storytelling and revealing character wise, the songs do a great job of that.
I guess that blurs the lines because the next one, writing, I had at a 3 of 5. I'm now going to up it to an unprecedented on Musicals, a 5 of 5.
That makes you feel so good.
They did it with. I didn't realize that so much of this was in her head, and that's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, and of course it is, especially that ending number.
People aren't really singing,
Yeah, great, brilliant. So 5 of 5, but then you're sort of saying okay, well, is the music because it's such a good, but is that writing, right?
But I think that's fair to say. I think all that jazz people like a lot.
Yeah,
probably
sure.
Mr. Cellophane, some guys
I see. I don't
singing
think
a cabaret.
I feel like if you didn't know who Amos was, you'd listen to Mr. Cellophane, you'd be like, "This song sucks."
Yeah.
So before we go into, I'll just give it pageantry.
Pageantry.
10 out of 5.
10 out of 5.
10 out of 5.
I mean,
Wonderful pageantry.
Swarovski studded suits.
Oh my god. Swarovski scoots.
Yep. Swarovski studded suits.
Those things. The puppets, the slalom skis. Just all of it, really. I mean, there were so many great scenes. Lucy Liu in a bra.
The pageantry of that alone.
And the choreography, like, I was arguing about the tango thing and how it was normal, but that was the low point of the show in my point, and it still was, like, pretty on par with other, like, things I've seen.
Oh, yeah.
So, pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty good.
All right.
Mr. Cellophane's even an excellent, like, subtle, quiet pageantry. Nicely done.
I agree with you.
Whoever the pageant mom was, nailed it.
Just nailed it.
Nailed it.
I agree. I think when we're talking about the movie, I think pageantry, it just exceeds all your expectations. It's as glitzy and as fun and as glamorous as Roxy imagines it to be. I mean, just that number where she's on stage dancing with all those men and it's the mirrors and like her neon lights on the stage, and it's just like, it's just perfect. And she's in this beautiful like shimmering costume, and like everything is just perfect. If we're talking about the stage show, like pageantry gets like a 0 because there's none, which has its merits, but I disagree with them respectfully.
No respect.
What's the
writing and music?
Writing, I agree. 5 out of 5. Perfect. Candor and Ed nail it.
They did a good job.
And music, I would give them a higher score. I think probably like a 3.5 is deserved.
I disagree, but I understand.
I think for the time period that they're trying to be in and the time period that the actual musical is written, I think it does a really stand-up job. I mean, the song, like, All I Care About is so fun with Billy Flynn.
Which is, all I care about
is love. And
yeah, at first I was like, wait, that's not true. Look at your office. And I was like, oh. It's because he's fake.
That's the bit. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to change it to a 4. I think the music in the show is great.
You're not leaving much room for improvement in other musicals.
I'm not, but I love most musicals.
Perfect. All right, so you didn't give pageantry an official score out of 5.
Oh, 10 out of 5.
10 out of 5. All right, so some quick math here, and that puts 36 out of 30. It's impressive.
Yeah.
When you're forced to break things down and think about them, you think you really do consider it. Because, especially for a movie or musical, that when it concluded, I said, oh, thank God that's over. It really, if you really break it down, it was pretty solid.
Right?
Pretty solid thing.
It's smartly constructed.
But if you're just going to watch it at face value,
I agree with
you're probably going to be like, oh, that was kind of boring.
No.
I would.
But I understand how you could
Musical-Newb,
totally.
Musical-Newb.
I totally understand how you could say that.
All right.
This is such a fun movie, though. From, like, start to finish.
They did a great job.
Yeah.
They did do a great job.
Exactly.
Unless you don't care to think about it. And then they did a terrible job.
Nope.
All right, so we have our final 2 segments here. They're quick wins. Don't worry. If your car ride is ending, or your boss is about to ask you a question, or your train is coming, or wherever you lovely people listen to podcasts, don't worry, we're almost done. I'm going to talk about it for several more minutes so that we delay the inevitable. So let's start with the character you identify most with.
Ooh.
Who do you think?
What a great little question, Daniel.
Yeah, I know. I didn't come up with it.
And I think it's tough because they're murderers, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, well, I don't think I'm a schlub like Amos, but if he's the only good person there.
Well,
can I say Taye Diggs?
Just Taye Diggs. Not the band leader, but Taye Diggs.
My friends very well.
Okay, all right.
And I'm hot.
Okay.
But I don't do a lot.
But you just kind of there. All right. I will accept that answer.
And I'm not a murderer, most important.
I
work in show business.
So because you've never murdered someone, because you're not a lawyer, and because you work in show business, you are the band leader, Taye Diggs.
I'm MC.
All right. Deal. I felt I identified most with. I really noodled on this one for a while. Because at first I was like, well, probably Amos, but then I'm like, oh, you're just throwing yourself a pity party. So what I came up with is I identify most with Billy Flynn.
Okay.
If John C. Reilly had played Billy Flynn.
Interesting.
So, like, quick-tongued and really trying to do something, but not doing a very good job at it. Can you just imagine John C. Reilly doing... I love John C. Reilly. Imagine him doing anything that Richard Gere did. And that's the character I identify most with.
Especially with like half-naked ladies like surrounding him.
It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And I think that he's probably a terrible tap dancer, as am I, John C. Reilly. You're brilliant in every way. Probably not a great tap dancer, let's just be fair. And so can you imagine him just up there tapping like, tip, tip, tip. Are you believing me, Judge?
Why is he drunk?
I don't know why. That's my John C. Reilly impression. Well, that's great. So that brings us to our final... we don't have a name for it. Hashtag that. We're going to call it that.
I love it.
Hashtag that. We each watched the musicals or have watched them several times before and come up with a hashtag that we feel embodies it. And the other person has to come up with a tweet that in some way has that hashtag involved with it. So we've done that for you, audience. We don't know each other's hashtag here. It's a surprise. So do you want to start or do you want me to start?
You go first.
All right, my hashtag, it leaves a lot. It leaves it open for you to come up with. Hashtag top that crime.
Top that crime.
Go.
Human centipede.
Your tweet is human centipede. Top that crime. Done. Perfect.
That's the heinous crime of the century.
So the person who orchestrated human centipede gets on Twitter and just says, "Human centipede, top that crime." Done.
Because you can't. Can you think of anything worse?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Maybe John C. Reilly tap dancing, but I can't be certain. Maybe Catherine Zeta-Jones in general.
Only my hair doesn't top that crime.
You nailed it. All right, give me my hashtag.
Your hashtag is hashtag Amos problems.
Just zipped my penis up into my zipper. Hashtag Amos problems.
You nailed it. You know he's done that
so many times.
Way more than
you know how many times he's just like, I'm late for work. Fuck.
No.
This again.
My pee-pee again.
All right. And with that is our show, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate you listening as always. Well, not as always yet, but I will say as always at some point in the future, I hope, as we continue to create these. Should, for some reason, this podcast enter the social atmosphere, the social stratosphere, please feel free to suggest musicals that you'd like us to review, and put up to the horrible scrutiny that we've done here today.
If you listen here and you have an idea for a tweet with us, use the hashtag.
Yes, please do use those hashtags.
Let us know your tweets.
And also mention the Musipals, like musicals, but with a P instead of a C.
Because we're all friends.
Musipals. Get it? Because you're our pals, we're pals. And next week we will have, week in quotation marks, we will have a guest joining us. And thanks for listening.
Oh, perfect. This feels good. Okay, so the clue for the next musical that we're going to review in our next segment is when Chicago gangsters needed to get something done, they used bribes. You might say they had to blank palms.